Hello internet users and welcome back to Soft Lock Picking. Today we're going to be taking a look at one of the games in the Castlevania series. At face value, when you compare something like Castlevania to something like Pokemon, you might think that there isn't much to experiment with for soft locking, but you'd be surprised. We obviously aren't going to be able to talk about all of the games in the series in a single video, but the one game that we absolutely have to start out with is Portrait of Ruin, which arguably contains one of the most infamous soft locks among them all. So without wasting any time, let's get right to it. The first lock that we're going to look at is caused by what is known as the Death Glitch. To set it up, first play the game until you reach the boss door at the top of the Tower of Death. Head on over to the nearby statue and save your game. Now when you enter the boss room, fight and defeat Death like you normally would. However, once you land the final hit, the game will go into a cutscene. As soon as this occurs, quickly press the start button and skip it. If done correctly, when you leave the boss room from either side, you will notice that the blue door closes behind you, something that shouldn't be happening when you've already cleared the room. If you approach the door again, it will open. However, once you're back inside the room, the doors will seal you inside as if you were about to fight a boss. The game is now in a permanently glitched state where despite death already being defeated, it still thinks that you need to do that before it will let you out of the room. The only thing here now is one of the little portals that appears during some of Death's attacks. There isn't anything to fight and you're now completely trapped. There's no choice but to turn off the game and reload a save. Now so far, the only inconvenience caused here is that you now have to redo the boss fight. But hypothetically, what if after triggering this glitch, you instead exited through the right side and saved at the nearby statue again? You know, the type of thing that an unsuspecting player might want to do after defeating a difficult boss. Well, my friend, if you did that, you just soft lock your game. Every time you reload and enter the room, the doors will shut, and there isn't anything you can do but turn off the game. Going through this room is the only way to progress, but just because of a little cutscene skip, that's no longer possible. As it stands, Jonathan and Charlotte's quest to defeat Dracula has come to an abrupt end, and all of the hours it took to reach this point are all down the drain. No pun intended, but it seems that this glitch has quite literally become the death of your save file. Like I mentioned earlier, this lock is pretty notorious. When the game first came out, it caused a lot of grief to many players. Unlike the type of locks that I've previously looked at in the Pokemon series, this one is in a different category. This isn't the kind of thing that involves any crazy setups, but it's something that could easily happen to someone in a casual playthrough. So it should come as no surprise to hear that Konami fixed it for other versions of the game. This glitch is only present in the North American version and early Japanese copies. Thankfully, once it was discovered, it was completely patched out for the European release, and in the later Japanese copies. Now I'm sure right now many of you are asking the same question. Once you know that this lock exists, wouldn't it be very simple to avoid? And you'd be completely right. All you have to do is keep your fingers away from the start button for a few seconds, and if you're extremely paranoid, you could even make a copy of your save data before first entering the room. But even so, this hasn't stopped this glitch from being a problem. No matter how easy you think it is to avoid, something like this shouldn't be in what is supposed to be a professionally made commercial game. Don't forget, the reason everyone is even aware of this glitch's existence is because of the ones that learned about it the hard way. But luckily, in the case of those unfortunate people, there actually was still a way to progress and recover their playtime. If you're familiar with speedruns of the Metroidvania-styled entries, then you'll know that these games have some other pretty crazy glitches, the kind that you likely wouldn't encounter in a casual playthrough. Portrait of Ruin is no exception to this, and all of the dedicated glitch hunters out there have long since discovered a means of escape for this particular softlock. To get out of this trap, we need to abuse something known as the Suspend Glitch. It's a pretty fun thing to mess around with. To do it, you need to move your character close to the edge of a room, enough that they are mostly off-screen, but not close enough to move into the next room. Once you're set up, pause the game and choose the Suspend option on the menu. This will make a quick save and return you to the title screen. Now immediately resume your save, and if you did this properly, you'll end up in the next room, sometimes with some strange results. This might take a few attempts, but it's incredibly easy once you get the hang of it. For escaping the lock, you need to do the Suspend glitch at the bottom of the elevator room. In the room just to the left, move your character in place and attempt to do the glitch. When you do it correctly, the game will spawn you inside the top right entrance of the elevator room, which just so happens to be where you would normally exit Death's room after defeating him. Now that that's done, hit the switch in front of you to activate the elevator, and you will now be able to continue to go forward and backwards in the game without ever needing to go near the glitched room again. In fact, if you wanted, you could even use this glitch to skip fighting death altogether. In case you're wondering though, there is no way to use this glitch while inside of the boss room. The game thinks you're in the middle of a fight here, so the option on the menu doesn't even work. And again, the doors are shut anyway. And there you have it. Although the best solution for this lock is awareness, should you ever fall victim to it, there is a convenient glitch to get you out. As I'm sure you can imagine, there are plenty of other crazy things you can do with the Suspend Glitch in this game. I first experimented with it outside of Death's room. I ended up on the right side of the nearby save room, outside of the wall. From here, I can actually endlessly run to the right off-screen. It should be noted that attempting to suspend in a situation like this will only cause you to be stuck on a black screen when you come back, forcing you to reload to your last normal save. Funnily enough though, when you're selecting your quick save data after going out of the map like this, the game seems to think you're in a place called the Lost Gallery, which is the location name of a boss room for a certain character near the end of the game. Another thing that you can do with the glitch is perform some massive sequence breaking. Once you know what to do, you could get from the start to the end of the game in a matter of minutes. On the subject of death though, this isn't the first time in the series that he's been associated with ruining the player's progress, going as far back as the original Castlevania on NES. You see, early cartridges of the game were a lot more likely to freeze. This would be the result of there being too many things on screen at once. This would frequently occur in places such as Death's boss fight, where he would spawn multiple scythes to attack you with. I heard that people who grew up with one of these early copies have referred to it as borderline unplayable. If you happen to have one of these yourself, tell us down below how often this happened to you. Kinda curious to know just how bad of a problem this was. Now going back to Portrait of Ruin, there is still one more scenario I want to show you all. To set this one up, you first need to have unlocked the Old Axe Armor mode. This is done by defeating a total of 1,000 Old Axe Armors in the regular mode as Jonathan and Charlotte. As the name implies, this mode lets you play through the entire game as an Old Axe Armor, without a partner character. Next, on the file select screen, you're going to need at least one empty save file and a clear game for Jonathan and Charlotte. Once you have what you need, the rest is easy. For the first step, load up your completed game, switch to Charlotte, and save the game again. Next, reset to go back to the file select screen. On the same cleared file, move over to the bat icon to begin New Game Plus. However, once you are given the option to enter your name, press the B button to cancel and go back. Now go to the empty file and start a new game for Old Axe Armor mode. Once you begin, you'll quickly notice that something isn't right here. Instead of the Old Axe Armor, you'll be playing as Maria instead. She plays exactly like she does in Richter mode and has all of her attacks and abilities intact here. However, because the game thinks this is Old Axe Armor mode, the partner switching mechanic is disabled, so she is all by herself now. Even if you save the game and turn off the system, when you come back, you will still be Maria. At first glance, this does seem like a pretty neat glitch. It essentially creates a solo Maria mode. However, just by starting the game like this, you've already made it impossible to ever complete it. Maria is normally partnered with Richter, who of the duo is the one with the super jump ability. So if you're playing as just Maria, it's only a matter of time until you get to a point where you need to go somewhere that's too high for her to reach. Maria was not designed to be able to finish the game by herself. But you might be asking right now, what about the Suspend Glitch? Sadly, suspending your game is something that you can only do while playing as Jonathan and Charlotte. All of the extra modes just have a regular pause screen when you hit start. And out of all the known glitches in this game, there aren't any that you can abuse to get Maria to the end. Usually when I set something up, I first have to reach a later part of the game, but in this case, the entire adventure is doomed from the very beginning. Unlike the death glitch though, this one is pretty harmless. Odds are you wouldn't stumble into this by accident, and would likely know what kind of situation you were getting yourself into when doing the glitch. And if you really wanted to play the game this way, you could always just play Richter mode, and only switch to him when you absolutely need to. The question remains though, why does this glitch result in you playing as just Maria? Well, this is just pure speculation, but it seems that for the Old Axe Armor mode, Maria is assigned as the mode's second character, despite you only being supposed to use just the one. Ironically, this was probably done to prevent unexpected bugs from occurring. I don't know how the game is exactly programmed, but because the main game and extra modes revolved around having 2 characters, maybe a mode with just a single character slot would have caused it to crash in certain places or something. They probably just thought that making Maria the second character and disabling switching was the simplest way to get around that. That's just a guess though, feel free to tell me if I'm wrong. But assuming I understand this correctly, the reason that you make Charlotte the main character on the clear data is because this glitch tricks the game into loading the data for the second character when starting a new game, and thus we get the impossible Maria only mode. And there you have it, folks, a couple of game-ending situations and weird glitches you can do in Castlevania Portrait of Ruin. This is something I've wanted to discuss for a while, and I know it's a little different from my usual softlock stuff, but I hope you all enjoyed it. I know that there's even more to see throughout this series, but that's gonna have to wait for another day. As well, I'll likely be coming back to Portrait of Ruin for another type of video. Now, if you don't mind, I think there's another solo challenge I have to take a look at. My name is Pikasprey, and thanks for watching.